Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come in, come in, come in. So, guys, this is Tamika's Den. I am Tamika. Y'all get on in here, okay? This is Sistas, okay? And this is season 4, episode 5, Life, Soul, and Heart. Wasn't really too much going on in this episode. It was cute for what it was, alright? So, this review is probably not going to be that long. But we basically picked up where we left off at, right? With Danny and this damn guy from the airport chasing her down. And of course, she got the knife out on him. She like, yo, I'm from Detroit. I don't play. You know what I'm saying? What the heck you coming up in here for? Like, I will get your ass and get you up out of here. And he's telling her, I'm a cop. And, because she seen that he had a gun on him. And then she's like, yeah, right. I don't believe that story. Of course, she asking him to show her his badge as she should. And she's like, I don't believe you. And then, she like moves slow. He trying to pull it out. And he was saying that he was undercover. He can't afford for her to blow his cover. That he's actually there to help these kids, not for him to, traffic them. He's trying to stop and prevent other people from trafficking them. So, of course, she's like, I don't believe you. And she's telling him to take the badge out slow. And he takes it out. And she's like, yo, you could buy that in a damn Dollar Tree. You know what I'm saying? And she was like, I got a friend that knows how to make them. And then he was like, really? Oh, I need to meet them. So then she's like, kind of sounded like you was a cop when you said that. She's like, yeah, no, he's not really a friend. I just know him, And so basically he's telling her thank you for what she did. And, that's good that she had her eyes open and was on alert and was worried about the kids or whatever. But, this is what he does for a living. And he can't have her interfering and can't have her, blow up his cover. And that he just was basically coming to tell her thank you for, what she did. And basically he was like, no one ever chased me down like that and hit me with a shoe. And she was asking him how his head was, and he was saying, he had to get stitches and his head hurt a little bit, but he was okay. And he was like, no, really, he's fine, but thank you for your help. And so she was like, yeah, you bet. And I'm like, okay, then why the hell was you chasing her in the damn house like that? Are you crazy? Like, she could have freaking killed Joe behind, or you could have ended up having to kill her. Could have just, said that from outside the damn door. But nonetheless, he's like telling her, he just wants to come and tell her that. And she's like, okay, you can get out of here. And he's like, I'll see you at the airport. And she's like, bye. And of course, she's trying to catch her breath. And she hurries up and goes and locks the door. And I'm like, okay, So we see that I guess he's going to be a new character on the show now. And, it wasn't what she thought it was after all. And so then we had Andy talking to Sabrina. She's telling her that Karen wants all of them to meet at her house. Because remember last week's episode, Karen was telling her that she wanted all the girls there. I assume she want to finally tell them about her pregnancy or whatever. And so Andy was basically asking Sabrina to, ask Danny to come for her. And she was asking, like, why you can't, ask her yourself. And she was saying, she's not going to want to hear from me. It's easier if you go ahead and do it. And, Sabrina's basically like, okay, I'll try. She was like, and Andy told her thank you. She was like, why don't you just call her yourself? And she basically was telling her, like, if I call her, she is a high probability that she's not going to come, or she's going to end up cursing me out. And so Sabrina's like, yeah, you right. And she was telling her, well, damn, you didn't have to agree so fast. But she was like, okay, I'll make it happen. I'll try my best. And then, Andy basically just tells her she'll see her tonight. And at the same time, Maurice comes walking in and he sits down. I guess this is like a break room that they have there at the bank, because Sabrina has some orange and bananas and whatever on the table and some drink. And so Maurice comes in with a coffee, and he's basically, she's asking him how it went last night. And he was like, how the hell you think? Like, we already went over this, right? That's not my type. And so she was like, well, did you at least have fun? I guess she was trying to say, did he make the best of it? She's like, did anything interesting happen? He was like, oh yeah, girl, we taught each other how to crochet, braid, and do mink lashes and all of this kind of stuff. And she like, oh, okay, well, at least that's something good. And he was like, bitch, I'm being sarcastic. I'm like, damn, Sabrina, you can't be that slow. And so he's basically like, dummy. And he was like, you better leave me alone. Okay. So I was like, Lord, Sabrina, you can't be that damn slow. And so then we see, Pam or whatever at Karen's shop, and Karen is basically walking in. And we see, no, matter of fact, I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead, because after that, Sabrina actually got a call from Danny. And Danny's basically telling her, like, girl, I could have killed somebody. I had the human trafficker at my damn door. And she was like, what? She was like, actually, it turns out that he's the police. And then she was like, what? And she was like, yeah. She said, I guess I was wrong about him. Apparently, he's undercover. So she was like, well, how the hell did he get your address? She was like, girl, I don't know. He just came and showed up at my door, but I'm pretty sure if he's the damn police, it's not that hard for him to get your address. So she basically was like, I almost stabbed his ass. And Sabrina was like, really? Thank God you didn't. And she was like, yeah, he would have been a dead man right now. Dead as a doornail. And so, Sabrina, of course, is like, damn, wow, that's crazy. So she was like, well, I'm glad you didn't do that. And, Danny's basically like, I'll say shit. And we both glad. So she was like, well, anyway, are you coming tonight? And she was like, girl, coming where? She was like, oh, well, Andy wants all of us over. She says Karen needs to tell her something. And she was like, hell no, I'm not going. I'm good. She was like, I got enough drama. I've been through enough today. That's enough stress for one day. Like, I'll pass. And she was like, she already called me about Preston and his date and all this other stuff. And she was like, I got to go to work. I don't care. And so, Sabrina's just telling her over and over, like, I'll see you tonight, right? I'll see you later. And, and as she keeps saying that, Danny go ahead and hang up the damn phone on her while she's still talking. And so then we have Pam at Karen's shop. And Karen is basically walking in the door. And Pam is waiting by the door. And Pam is literally going like this. Trying to hint and like doing all these crazy faces. And Karen talking about some, what's wrong with you? You got a lash in your eye. What's happening? She like, no, dummy. I said, damn, these people is slow. Y'all can't catch on for nothing. She basically like, she's here again, and she was trying to let her know that this same lady that keeps snooping around and looking for Zach is back in the shop again. So she's like, well, what are you doing here again? I already told you I don't know nothing. She was like, why did you come back? So the lady's like, well, can you do something for me? And she's like, can you give Zach something for me? So she was like, how I'm going to do that when I don't be seeing him? He don't stay with me. I already told you I don't know where he is and I don't talk to him. She was like, didn't you see him yesterday? So Pam was like, no, bitch. And then Karen's like, Pam. So she was like, I don't care if you the police. This is basically Pam talking. And the lady says, I'm not the police. And Pam was like, then who are you? And she talking about, I'm just somebody looking for Zach. So she was like, oh, hell no, girl. She was like, it don't work like that. She ain't telling you shit, and neither am I. And she was like, you could go ahead and get your behind up out of here. And so the lady basically is just like, okay. And then they still standing there looking at her like, what are you waiting for? And she was like, Karen, why is this lady still here? And Karen is like, I don't know. And she was like, you heard her. Bye-bye. And so then the lady leaves out. And I have to say, Pam could be nosy and she could be a pain in the behind or whatever. But she did have Karen's back when it came to this, okay? She was not playing, and I was here for every minute of it. And so, Pam basically was like, girl, this is a mess. What the hell is going on? So, of course, Karen is like, I don't know. She was like, well, we got to find out what this is all about and who the hell is what, who the hell this lady is. She was like, I'm not playing with her. So Karen was like, well, what are you going to do? And Pam was like, I'm going to look into this. She was like, one of my boos is in law enforcement. So I'm going to see what he could dig up and find out. And she was like, I got this. And so, Karen is like, for real? She's like, yes, I'm going to find out who she is. And so, Karen tells her, if you find out, let me know. And she was like, I sure will. So she was like, you want something to eat? And Karen was like, actually, I do. She was like, I got to go get these taxes done. So she was like, now that Zach gave you all that money, and Karen basically was like, I'm going to get a house. She was like, oh, good for you, girl. She was like, well, I know, people in real estate too, if you need any help with it. She was like, well, I'm not that close. And she was like, I don't really want to talk about all of that in here, because at the same time, we seeing this girl standing at the sink folding the towels. Here go Pam talking about, oh, she can't hear nothing. Don't worry about her. Her ass is deaf, and she been there folding the towels for over an hour. I say, you know what, Pam, I can't with you. So, she basically tells her thank you. So then she says to the girl, bitch, stop folding them towels. You've been there for an hour. And she was like, see, I told you she can't hear nothing. I was like, Pam is something else. So she basically leaves to go get, Karen the food. And Karen go ahead to, I guess, do her taxes or whatever. You know what I'm saying? She was going to do. And I just was like, she's a hot mess. But I did like the fact that she had Karen's back in that moment. And she's actually had Karen's back in a couple of different moments that we've seen. Like I said, even though she's been being nosy and ear hustling and knowing everything before it even go down, she has been supportive of Karen. So that's cool. Then we have Maurice and Sabrina in the bank. Sabrina basically being nosy and asking who's ringing his phone while he's not answering the phone. And she was like, oh, I see it says correctional facility. And he was like, it's funny that you could see all up in my phone, but you can't even handle your own business. And then she asked, did he notice anything with Calvin? Did he hear anything? Was Calvin different? Did he see him before he went to work? And he was like, wow, what happened now? He was like, I can't keep up with y'all. And he was like, if I don't hear it from you, I hear it from him any damn way. It comes from both ends. So she's basically like, no, I'm not going to tell you about it or whatever have you. Let him tell you. At the same time, like I said, Maurice's phone had been ringing over and over and over again. So I'm like, well, how many damn calls does Q get? Okay, because I ain't never heard of you calling from jail or prison or whatever, and you just getting back-to-back calls like that. And my whole thing is, Maurice, why the hell do you keep answering it? You don't have to answer, boo. You could have been blocked that damn call. So to me, you want to get the calls. And basically, she's asking him, like, why do you keep calling me? And he's talking about because I need you to forgive me and I'm trying to be your man. And he was like, no, you trying not to be homeless. And he was like, well, that too. And he was like, can you get off my damn phone? I can't help you. And so he was like, I'm going to keep calling. And Maurice tells him he's going to keep ignoring. And I'm like, boy, if you really wanted to ignore him, like I said, you could have already blocked him. But he tells him goodbye and he hangs up the phone or whatever have you. So then we had Andy and Fatima basically both coming in at the same time. They both down in the parking lot. So they like, hey girl, hey, how you doing? How you feeling? You know what I'm saying? And she's like, are you okay today? They both telling each other they look nice. And she like, let me see that bag. I like that bag. And I was wondering if that's one of the bags that Gary bought her or if that's a bag she already had. But nonetheless, she basically was like, you were so freaked out last night with Hayden, so how are you today? And she was like, I'm good. She was like, yeah, girl. Basically Andy is saying to Fatima, like, I was freaked out because I thought you had killed him, but now that I know he's not, I'm good. And so she was like, no, I didn't kill him and I wouldn't kill nobody. She was like, yeah, you would have somebody else do it. And Fatima was like, that part. And she was like, he just was doing too much. He pushed me too far and I couldn't take it anymore. So Andy is telling her, like, Fatima, don't do that again. And she was like, I won't. And they both like, all right. And she was like, because he really could have died. And she was like, girl, it's fine, And so she, Fatima basically tells her, my dudes knew what they was doing. And she was like, so now you a damn mob boss. And she was like, hey, if that's what you want to call it, that too. So she was like, well, if I need anybody beat up, I know who to call. And I'm like, Andy, why are you acting shocked? Because remember that Fatima was the one that helped her when Gary damn ex-wife with her crazy ass and her friends was trying to come near the jump Andy. So you should already know that she's somebody, if you need somebody to beat up somebody, that she would be the one to call, okay? And so anyway, she's saying it's all good and she's saying things where Zach is great and he's great. And Andy's basically like, wow, great. She was like, I wish I could have something like that. And Fatima basically tells her we all deserve to have that, which we do. Okay. And so she was like, well, things are good with Zach as long as he don't mess up. And then, Andy's like, yeah, he better not, for his health, for his wealth, for his sanity. You better keep it all together messing with you. And Fatima's like, yeah, girl, because I'm crazy. So in the midst of them standing there and talking about that, here come Hayden hopping in looking all crazy with his briefcase over his neck and hopping on damn crutches. And Fatima is just dying laughing for like a good 5 minutes. I don't even know, because it was like, that didn't even seem like no acting. This girl was laughing so hard and she made me laugh watching her laugh, okay? And so of course, he's like, don't say shit to me. He was like, this ain't funny. What the hell y'all standing there laughing at? Y'all sick or whatever the case may be. She's making Andy laugh too, even though Andy is saying, Fatima, stop it, cut it out. And then Fatima asked him if he need help. And he was like, no, I don't need no damn help. And he was like, it's not funny. She was like, no, it really is. It is. And so he's telling her, don't say shit to me. She was like, look at him. He's struggling for real. She was like, but I bet we have an understanding. So he was like, what? He was like, understanding. And so she telling Fatima, Andy's telling Fatima, like, wait, come on, take a deep breath. Don't do nothing. So she was like, well, Hayden, you was the one that kept, escalating this. I kept telling you to leave it alone. And if somebody don't stop soon, somebody could end up in a body bag. He gonna talk about, yeah, that's true. And she was like, well, that sounded like a threat to me. And, Andy's basically like, yeah, I'm a witness too. She said, and I got the mark on my face. So he's like, yeah, both for real. And then they basically like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, Hayden, I don't feel bad for you, honestly. And, you know what I'm saying? I don't even know why you rushed your behind into work, because nobody wants you here. But anyway, she's telling him to go ahead and enjoy his day. Then she almost trips and he was like, yo, you foul. He was like, and she's just laughing. He was like, that shit ain't funny. And he was like, bring that inside for me, please, because she made the damn piece fall off the damn crutch when she trips him or whatever, and then he goes hopping off. So she's like, I think he learned his lesson. And basically, Andy is agreeing with her, like, I think he did. And she's like, come on, girl, we gotta get to work. It's not funny though. And then Fatima is still laughing, and then they gonna zoom in on the damn piece of the crutch on the floor. I was like, I can't. So, then he went hopping off or whatever, and they was walking behind him. So then we had, Danny back at work, and of course the cop guy gotta come bother her again. Okay, he trying to get his rap on, and he trying to tell Danny he want to take her out, that he noticed it was a nice restaurant, and Danny just don't want to be bothered. Okay, she's still telling him, nah, I'm good, what I'm saying, I have no interest. And he basically is saying thank you to her again. Then he's, she was like, first of all, I don't mess with married men. He was like, oh no, this is just a part of, the routine of what I do, like goes with my cover or whatever the case may be. I could take this off. And she was like, no, I don't need you to take it off of me. So he was telling her, because she was like, I don't even know you. He told her his name again, which I don't remember. She was like, yeah, okay, I got that part. And then he was like, he was in the military, I think it was for like 6 years before he became a cop. And she was like, okay, well, nice for you. And he was like, well, damn, I don't even get a thank you for my service or whatever. He was like, nothing seems, to get underneath you or make you want to be bothered or whatever. So she was like, yeah, no thanks, I'm good. She was like, but thank you for what you do. You know what I'm saying? What you do is important, and that's a good job. You know what I'm saying? And when I think about what you doing, I really do have to say that you help these kids, and I love that. So he was like, okay, finally a point. I get a point for something. And she's like, a point. And she was like, look, what you doing is really beautiful. It's important. But, that's that on that. And so he was like, well, we do have a place that we take the kids to, and we be needing volunteers sometimes. He was like, maybe you would be interested in that. And she was like, okay, I'm there. And he was like, good, I can tell you about it over dinner. So it's like, he just don't want to give up. And she was like, yeah, okay. And he was like, yeah, finally a win. So she was like, well, I'll let you know when. And he was like, okay, deal. She was like, okay, can I get back to work? And he was like, yep, sure, go ahead. He was like, I got a smile on my face now, I'm feeling good. And she was like, you're corny. That's corny. And he was a little corny, okay? But, maybe, who knows, this could be a new friend for Danny. We shall see. And so then we had, Calvin come in to talk to Sabrina. He's basically, saying he wants to apologize. He was wrong for leaving her there. She's like, yep, you definitely was wrong. And he was like, I just got so angry, and, being as though I was that pissed off, I had to get out and I had to get away. I'm sorry for last night. And so she's telling him, well, I understand. He's like, you do? She was like, yeah, you basically, wanted to prove that you was a man, and you wanted to defend me, and after what happened with Jabari. And so he's going, what? And then he's going, oh, yeah, for real? Oh, was that what it was? And he's letting her talk for a minute, and she was like, you was trying to show me you was a man, and, he's just like, okay, interesting, And she was like, you wanted to show me that you could protect me. And he's like, oh, and she's still not catching on, because of course they never catch on to nothing. And so he's like, Sabrina, he was like, it had nothing to do with that. The fact of the matter is that he came up to the table disrespecting, and I would have had the same attitude and the same reaction whether you were sitting there or not. And she was like, really? She was like, well, now I don't understand. She was like, you didn't have to do all that. She was like, and the reason why I said, Jabari is because you literally brung him up last night. And then he was like, what? And she was like, you don't remember? And then, he's like, at this point, I just want to leave that behind us. I want us to start over fresh. And, I just was pissed that he disrespected me at the table. It was nothing to do with Jabari or none of that other kind of stuff. And, I would have reacted the same way no matter what. And so she basically was like, oh. And he was like, Jacoby. I'm sorry. I keep saying damn Jabari. And so, she was like, I only brung it up because you mentioned his name last night. And so, at this point, he's like I said, that's neither here nor there. Let's start over fresh. And I'm like, why don't y'all just leave it alone? Honestly, in my opinion, I said the same thing in my last review, but I'm not going to keep repeating it. It is what it is. This is what they want to do. So he was like, let's try going somewhere else. At the end of the day, I was just trying to spend a beautiful evening with the woman that I love. And then she's like, Calvin. And he was like, you do know I love you, right? And then she's like, yes, I do know that, or whatever have you. So he was like, I would do anything for you. So at first he was saying that, they could go back to the, place again and have dinner. She was like, no, somewhere else completely. So he was like, okay, well, you pick the place and I'll pick you up. And she was like, oh no, I'm going to drive because I'm not getting left nowhere. And it's like, if you feel like you're going to get left again or you're going to get disrespected again, I don't know. I'm just like, why play the ring around the rosy? But nonetheless, they say that's fine. And, that's what they're going to do. And they good with that. And they like, okay, all right. They're going to have this next, dinner, and that's gonna be that on that. And so I was like, okay, we'll see how that goes. He basically was saying, that's fair enough. And so then we have I think it was the chick that went on the date with Preston, I forget her name, coming back in. Her hair's all messed up now and she needs it done over, and he comes in with her and she tells her to go ahead and have a seat, that they're gonna take care of her. And then she tells Preston come on and takes him back in the office with her. And she's basically asking him, like, what are you doing? What are you trying to do? Are you trying to come here to make Danny jealous? Do you want me to call Danny? And then he's like, no, please don't. Definitely, don't do that. And he was like, I'm back here because she needed her hair done over. What do you mean? Because she was basically asking him, why did he bring Tanya back again? That was her name, Tanya. And he was like, she wanted to get her hair done. And she was like, you mean to tell me that you basically wanted me to call Danny and tell her that y'all here? And then she's like, Preston, come on. And he was like, I'm serious. Don't call her. And so I don't know really what was the point of it either, but okay. And so she was like, well, go ahead. I'll be out for a second. And he was like, she just was like, just so you know, if you're trying to make Danny jealous, this is not the way by using this woman. And he was like, no, that's not what I'm doing. And so I was like, okay, because I honestly don't know what the hell any of y'all are doing at this point. And so then, Karen basically calls Fatima. I should say Karen thought she was calling Zach, but some kind of way Zach and Fatima, I guess, had switched phones and didn't realize it. So when she's calling Zach, because she was like, okay, Zach, you still haven't called me, and this lady has, been around or whatever the case may be, popping up every minute. So she calls him and Fatima answers the phone. And of course she's like confused looking like, the fuck, So she is like, is Zach around? Is Zach there? And Fatima's basically like, no. And then she was like, who's this? And she was like, this is Karen. She was like, who is this? And Fatima's basically like the person that's answering the phone. So then Karen is like, Fatima? And then she's like, yes. And then she was like, oh, okay. She was like, well, I'm trying to reach Zach. Do you know where he is? And then she asks, is he there again? As if she thinks she lied the first time. And she's like, no, he's not here. He's not around. And she was like, well, I don't know if I believe you because Zach never leaves his phone anywhere. I don't know, Karen. You ain't have to add that part in, but whatever. And so she's like, well, I don't know. Fatima tells her, I don't know how he was with you. But with me, he knows that he can just, basically leave it wherever he wants to, and he don't be using it every minute anyway or having it all the time anyway or something like that. He's not on it that often with me. And so Karen is basically like, yeah, okay. And then Fatima tells her, I'll tell him you called. And she's basically like, okay, bye. And, she's annoyed. And so then Fatima calls Zach. And she's, they see showing Zach running down in his place, looking at the place like, yo, I got a crib now. And they did do a really nice job of how they renovated it from where it started at. And his phone, or so he thinks it's his phone, starts ringing. And he answers, and she's basically like, I got your phone. And he's like, no, you don't. I'm on my phone. She's like, no, you're on my phone. And he's like, oh, man, I had told you to change the damn cover or whatever the case may be. And so she was like, I got your phone and you got mine, and I think you better, come get your phone. So he's telling her, no, he could go ahead without it. He don't need it. And she was like, no, seriously, because Karen called looking for you. And he like, damn. He was like, well, what did she say? She was like, she didn't say nothing, but it sounded like it was important. She basically just asked for you. So he was like, well, with Karen, it's always important. He was like, that's okay. You could go ahead and keep mine. I don't need it right this minute or whatever have you. And then, he starts asking her what her password is. And she tells him the password. And he all like, and then, she was like, well, give me your password. So at first he's like, nah, never mind. And she was like, yeah, that's what I thought. Like, it'll be here when you get here. And then he told her 1045. And she basically puts it in and was like, oh, shoot, okay, yeah, it does really work. But then when he tries the one she gave him, he was like, see, people be so full of crap. It's the ones you trust or whatever. I was like, you know what? Y'all so damn silly and silly. So basically, he's like, oh, good thing I got an extra phone. You should always have a backup and all this other stuff. And he was like, she probably got a backup too or whatever have you. And so, he basically was like, he not stressing it and they could switch the phones later. And that was pretty much that with that. Then, he was also telling her, don't look through my phone. And she like, boy, ain't nobody looking through your phone. But in the meantime, she was actually looking through the phone just as she said it. So then we had Sabrina and Maurice closing up the bank. And the bartender guy that's always there when Maurice goes to the bar, he basically was knocking, trying to get in. Sabrina tells him, to go ahead and let him in. He's saying that he want a party and he needs to get some money out before he go. And, they was basically asking him for, Maurice was asking him for his ID and information. And he was like, but you already know me. He was like, yeah, I know you, but I still got to follow the policy. And so, of course, the bartender guy's telling him, like, oh, I've been hearing that Q is getting out and it's nice that you helping him. And he's like telling him shh. And then he's like, no, I ain't helping him with nothing. He's like, okay, let me hurry up and get you out of here so you could go ahead and do what you got to do. Because, of course, Miss Sabrina is like beep, 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 turning into the bionic woman where she listening and hearing everything. And, he's like, no, I ain't helping him and I don't got nothing to do with that. And he was like, well, I know how you are and I know, the links that you'll go. Remember, I know you. And then Maurice is like, yeah, okay, goodbye. The same way I let you in, go your ass out that way. And, the guy tells him, I'm sorry, I was just saying. He was like, I just want my money. And Maurice is basically telling him, take his money and go. And then we had Sabrina come over to Maurice. And, of course, like I said, she was listening. So she like, oh, are you helping Q? Are you still seeing Q? And he's like, no, I'm not. No, I'm not. And then, of course, she just looking at him. I doubt she believe him because I don't think none of us believe you either at this point, Maurice, because your behind still keep answering his daggone calls. Then we have Aaron come into the shop, okay? He's basically checking on Karen and bringing her lunch. And Pam was like, well, somebody better give me my money back because I had already bought her lunch. And then, he tells Karen to come on. She was like, where we going? And he was like, he gonna take her in the back to the office to rub her feet. And Pam all, ooh, I wish I had somebody to rub my feet. Pam, you ain't by yourself. I wish somebody had somebody to rub my feet too. Okay, girl? So anyway, he takes her back there and he sits down and he's taking her shoes off and rubbing them. And she's asking him, do he got a foot fetish? And he's like, no, but I just, want to make sure that you feeling good. And it's the most important that you care for your feet. And he had read something somewhere or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, because it is people out there with foot fetishes, okay? I know somebody that had one, and I'm not particularly that crazy about people rubbing on my feet. But anyway, that's another story for another day, okay? And so basically she asking him, why is he so sweet? And he was like, no, I'm not really. He was like, everybody has limits and I have my limits or whatever the case may be too. And so she gonna talk about, well, that's what I'm waiting to see. And he was like, what do you mean by that? He was like, why would you say that? And she was like, what? And he was like, why would you want to see, the bad side of me? And she was like, well, I feel like we should see all sides of everybody, you know what I'm saying, if we're going to be in a relationship with them. And he was like, yeah, that is true. You got a point there. And she does. And, you know, he was like, well, not for nothing. You have seen my bad side. Don't you remember the drinking and, you know, acting crazy and all that? And she was like, oh, yeah. He was like, oh, yeah. And I was like, that's true, because Aaron came with a lot of baggage and drama, too, with the whole situation that went down with his damn wife. Like, we can't forget about that. So, you know, he was like, we both have seen sides. And if anything, I feel like mine's, you know, was worse than yours, to be honest. And so she was basically like, you know, okay, yeah, you do got a point there, because at first she was basically saying, you know, you've been around and you've been seeing all the drama that I've been going through, you know, with me and Zach, and you've been real patient and all of that different kind of stuff. And so, you know, then he's basically just continuing to rub her feet, and, you know, she's saying how good it feels and all of that kind of stuff, that it feels great. And, you know, basically, as he's rubbing them, she finally just comes out, and I was not expecting this, okay? She was like, I'm pregnant. And then he just looks up at her, and I'm like, girl. So she told Aaron she pregnant finally, okay? That was one of the things I was waiting on, honey. And so, you know, of course, she didn't get to tell the girls. Maybe that's next week episode or the week after. You know the way these things go. Because, honey, it looked like next week Aaron is asking her the questions that I think a lot of us, if not all of us, have been asking. How do you know it's Zach's and not mine? Okay? And I was like, yes, Aaron, that's what inquiring minds would like to know, baby. So that basically was Sistas, y'all. What y'all think? What you think her answer gonna be, or her explanation? Because it looked like he was saying, you know, do you know that it's his, or are you just thinking that it's his, or it's just because you want it to be his? And I was like, baby, okay, let's get it, Aaron. Let's get to the bottom of it. Maybe he will finally get her to take her behind to the damn hospital, okay, or doctor or whatever, to get herself checked out. But yeah, that was it, y'all. Tell me how you felt about this episode. Tell me what you like, what you didn't like. Tell me your predictions for, you know, next week's episode. Put it all in the comments, okay? Like, share, comment, subscribe. Till next time. Toodaloo.